Hi, I'm Liz Parker-Kuhn, Senior Editor, Candy Industry Magazine. Today we are here with Cameron Clarke, co-founder and CEO of Sunderstorm. Thanks for being here today with us.
Happy to be here. Happy to chat with your audience.
So to start off, what are some consumer trends and behaviors in the cannabis candy category?
Well, I think it's very interesting. What we've seen over the years is that new consumers tend to be less, fewer smokers and more edible type consumers. So while the center of the bell curve in the industry of the general cannabis consumers still are smokers, there's a lot of new entrants into the cannabis industry, new consumers, and they tend to be much more interested in edibles or even beverages, which we're seeing on the hemp side of the business. And I think that's really the future. I think we will see the edible side and the candy side continue to grow, not just in the US, but in global markets as well.
So can you also talk about flavors, ingredients, nutrition profiles, buying consumption occasions, things like that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. There are a whole spectrum of consumers that are enjoying cannabis edibles. There are, the high dose consumers and heavy consumers that will eat the edibles on a regular basis because they want to smoke less. And there are consumers that will use the products for pain or for anxiety or for sleep. That's the number one category. So we call these functional consumers, and we have, Kanha has our line of FX gummies that are really geared towards specific use cases, and that is growing. And you have, just consumers that are just starting out and want to relax, and so maybe they are drinking a little less alcohol and taking a gummy, with their partner at night just to relax and enjoy life. So we're seeing this trend of adoption of establishing more and more levels of comfort by consumers, particularly on the edibles front. And I think it's interesting because when we started this company, we started the Kanha brand back in 2015. There were almost no consumers consuming, or there were very few consumers consuming gummies. The product of choice for edibles were things like brownies and chocolate bars, because those have been around for decades. And then when the gummies were first launched, the adoption cycle was quite rapid. And I think it's interesting, and I think the reason is, and my belief of that reason is that consumers generally perceive gummies to be a snack. It's something that you can kind of munch on all day long if you want, whereas chocolate is perceived to be a specialty item or a specialty case, where you might use it only once in a while. We don't sit there and just eat chocolate all day long or even every day. Some people do, but it tends to be more of a specialty occasion. So the gummies have been the product of choice for most consumers because we grew up eating gummies. Everybody, every kid, has had their plenty of gummies growing up, and we enjoy them. And now we have vitamin gummies and all kinds of other nutrition gummies that people take for a variety of reasons, and they take them daily. So that's really why the gummy category has been so strong and developed so much over the years. Is it has that snack appeal, and I think that will continue to be a very strong category in terms of occasions and when they're being used. I mean, you do have edible bars showing up at weddings where people can go and they can, grab a gummy or grab, a piece of chocolate, something like that for to consume during the wedding. You have, other types of specialty occasions. But I think, when you talk about what's driving this industry and what's really the center of where is the center of the bell curve? It is the consumers that are munching on these gummies, possibly multiple times per day, and certainly on a daily basis. And that's not, typically new consumers. New consumers tend to, try them, and maybe they do, one every week or a couple of weeks and see how they feel. But there is that class of new consumers that are sleep consumers that do consume them either every night or every other night before they go to bed to help them sleep better. And we all know that sleep is a huge issue in this country. There's a lot of stress that people undergo with their families and with their work environments and with the overall economy, etc. So de-stressing and relaxing before you go to bed with a cannabis gummy is a great solution for many people. So I guess those are kind of the general, buckets. Kind of, are you dealing with, a functional issue, like you have pain and you want to desensitize the pain for the day? Do you want to use it for relaxation? Do you want to use it for sleep? Or you're going out to a concert with your friends and, where you can't smoke and you just pop a gummy before you go to the show.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And then you kind of just talked about this, but how does Sunderstorm and Kanha work to keep up with current consumer interests?
Yeah, it's very tricky. There's not a lot of data. There's not a lot of great data, to be honest, inside the cannabis industry. We do get data from we get data reports from companies that are tracking POS data, and we look for, general consumer demographic information. I think one thing that's interesting in this industry is that every time you go into a licensed dispensary, you have to show your driver's license. So because of that, they know your basic demographic information. They know when you come back, how frequently you shop. So that data is very, very important for those that track. Whatever reports are given to the brands or to others in the industry, it's all anonymized, so we don't know, anybody. We don't know where people live. We don't know who they are, but we know if X consumer or Y consumer goes into dispensary two, and how frequently they shop there and what their basket size is and whether they're buying a gummy and a pre-roll or they buy just gummies. So that sort of data is available and we do look at it. But I think one of the areas where we're trying to use AI and get a little bit better sense is what is happening, like how do we expand outside of out of the cannabis industry into a broader consumer packaged goods look about the industry? How do we attract more novice consumers or new consumers to establish so they establish a level of comfort with cannabis? There's still a little bit of fear out there, and so we're working hard to figure out ways that we can make them feel more comfortable. And in general, there's just, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, there's a lot of consumers that don't want to drink anymore. They don't want to drink alcohol, and they don't want to wake up hungover, especially as you get older. So the cannabis edible, the gummy, is a perfect solution for them to be able to relax and wake up the next day completely refreshed. So we are looking for these trends to try to understand how to cater more towards the mainstream consumer, even outside of this, what I call this cannabis subculture. Because within the subculture, there's plenty of knowledge and understanding and use of all these products. But we need to focus, or what we're trying to focus on is how do we attract new consumers that have never tried these products before?
Okay, that makes sense. And then my next question, similarly, how does the company keep their finger on the pulse of emerging consumer taste trends?
Yeah. So we do take a look at kind of CPG trends. We look for new flavors. We have tried various flavors that are kind of holiday oriented. So we've launched products during the holidays that are specific flavors for that. And that's worked out, kind of limited time offers, and that's worked out quite well for us. Products around Cinco de Mayo, or like I said, products in December during the holidays. And so we do try to cater to those trends. And then we also just talk to our flavor houses. What are the hot new flavors that consumers are excited about today? And they tend to give us some advice. One thing that's important to note, that cannabis can be very bitter and it can be very difficult to flavor. And I think that's why you only see a handful of really top-notch cannabis brands with top-notch products because it is very difficult to create the correct texture and the correct flavor with the right moisture content that the consumers are seeking, right, for the experience that they want. And we do pay close attention to these trends. And I think for us, probably talking to our flavor houses is probably one of the biggest places that we get some of this information.
Okay, sounds good. And then have you seen any notable innovations in cannabis infused candy recently?
I mean, I would say, the innovations are really on blending of various cannabinoids and terpene formulations and exogenous compounds to drive specific function, right? So for us, we have three different cannabinoids in our sleep products. We have THC, CBD, and CBN in our sleep products, and we also do specific terpene mixes, and we add other exogenous compounds, as I mentioned before, to enhance the effect. So, I think that there has been in this industry a lot of testing of all kinds of different types of products, edible products, but consumers keep going back to, the staple, which is the gummy. Having said that, we also are trying to push the envelope, and we recently launched the very first chocolate bite, kind of M&M type product in California that's gotten incredible response, and consumers are loving it. One reason is it doesn't melt, and the melting point for us was, I think, somewhere between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is much higher than a gummy. We put it in a nice little package that sits in your pocket, so that has a nice convenience factor. So I think, from our side, we're trying to push both the functional aspect and making sure that the formulations are consistent with specific effects that consumers want, and also trying different formats. We also are really, I think, one of the only companies that has a homemade belt product, which is like a strip. And I think those are, that's a format that lots of kids have had, or lots of us have had when we were children. And now as adults, it kind of takes us back to our youth. We recently launched a new version of our belts that is rosin based, and they're flying off the shelves in every state we're in. So we're excited about that. So, for us, the innovation, again, kind of a combination of format as well as formulations. I think that's what that I think, and I think we will continue to see that.
Okay. My next question was going to be, do you have any recent or upcoming launches to share? You kind of just touched on that with the M&M type product. Is there anything else you have going on this year?
We do. We're about to launch within the next 2 or 3 months a whole line of new products that we're not disclosing right now, but they're going to be incredible. They're going to be delicious, and they're going to be they're going to be full spectrum. So I'll leave it at that, and we're very excited about that. So I think that's going to be that's going to take the market by storm in all of the markets that we're in the coming months. But I do also want to mention that we are excited about both the belts that the relaunch of the belts that we did with the rosin format, again, full spectrum, really terrific. And then also the minis, the Kanha minis that we've launched, which are the M&M format. We're also very excited about that, and those are generating a lot of interest in the California market. So it's hard to be innovative, and you can't have too many SKUs. Otherwise, the SKU proliferation is a challenge for all of us in the industry. Shelf space is expensive, but we are focused on launching products that are 10 out of 10. And so we try a lot of different things. We get feedback, and we launch the products that really get people excited.
Okay, sounds good. And then my last question, what is your favorite Kanha product to enjoy?
Oh, that's an easy one for me. I'm very excited about the new Kanha minis, the little M&Ms. They're 4 milligrams each, with 2 milligrams, 4 milligrams THC with 2 milligrams of different minor cannabinoids, either THCV or CBG, as an example. And I'm not a heavy consumer, so they're the perfect kind of dose for me. They're fast acting with the nanotechnology, and so and I don't know if you know this, but we are the pioneers of nanotechnology. We launched our first nanotechnology product in cannabis in 2015, and we've been leading the industry ever since. Fast acting is very, very important for us because it helps consumers not take too much or overdose, as long as when they get that feedback. So for me, the Kana Minis are a really an excellent product. They're very portable. You can take another one after, I can take another one, one or two through the evening, and it's just the perfect level of experience that I'm seeking. So for sure, that's the product for me.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but thanks again for being here with us.
I'm happy. I'm glad I could participate. Thank you so much.